So
Okay.
we'll just talk. You don't have to look at the camera. But he said, I was like, when did you meet Grandma, or how'd you meet Bev and sync that up? And he was like, well, she walked in. Or do you remember? Let's hear your story. How'd you meet Doug?
Well, what he said, I don't know. I was just in the student union. He said he saw me and somebody asked him, he said he was going to ask me out or something like that. And I didn't know. He finally did ask me quite a few times, and I always said no because I was going out with a whole bunch of other guys too. So.
Why did you say no to him?
No, because I just didn't have time. I was going out with somebody else, Back in those days, you dated a lot of people. You didn't necessarily just date one person, And I had just come to UC, so I didn't know any. I knew a lot of girls that were there, but I didn't know any guys. And different guys asked me out, and I'd go out one or two times. And whenever he'd ask me, I'd already have a date. So.
How did he convince you? What was the?
Oh, well, it wasn't convincing me
Okay.
because finally, I was free and I went out. But then he was also going out with my best friend. So, and we rode to school every day. So he'd have a date with her one night and me the other night. And we'd decide which movie we wanted to go on our way to school in the morning.
That's funny. That's cool. I feel like that's a much healthier dating culture where you're like,
oh, yeah.
you know people.
Yeah, in fact, Aunt Shirley's daughter, when we were talking about different people we dated through high school, and I dated my sister's husband, a couple of times. And then we talked about the different guys we dated, and she said to Shirley one day, she said, gosh, Mom, was Aunt Bev a slut in high school? And she said, no. She said, that's just the way it was. We went out with a bunch of different people. It was far from it.
Aunt Bev was getting around.
No. We were both very popular. We had, lots of friends, and they're still our friends.
Did they have a nickname for you and Shirley?
No, not necessarily that I know of.
The sisters.
They may have, but never told us.
How far apart were you guys?
Pardon me?
How far apart were you?
A year and 10 days.
Did people think you were twins?
A lot of times.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We have been best friends from the day we were born.
That's
we really have been.
So let's go back to the beginning then.
Okay.
So where were you born?
Here in Cincinnati.
And Keithy's, tell me, describe your family growing up. Was it you, Shirley?
Well, we grew up. When I was born, we lived with my grandmother at my grandmother's house, and there was a lot of people there, And my grandfather was very sick, evidently, because he died when I was like a year old, and Shirley was just born. And then we moved to another small little house down in Madera, and I guess it was like 4 years old down there. We moved up 4 more streets up the hill. And we lived there until I was out of high school, and then we moved back to my grandmother's house. She sold it to my mom and dad, and we moved back there.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so my dad went there when he was 2 years old, and he died there when he was 88. So.
That's fine.
But they remodeled the house and redid it and everything, but yeah.
That was Grandpa, I didn't think I ever knew that. That was Grandpa Keithy's house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's his parents' house.
His parents' house, right.
And then, where did they move from?
I think.
Were they in Cincy?
I think they were from Kentucky. I'm not sure, but I think they were. My grandmother's family was in Kentucky because we used to go to family reunions there all the time.
Why did you guys move? Why were you guys living with your grandparents at the time?
Well, my mom and dad eloped, and so there I came along, and they didn't have any place to live, so they'd live there.
How did they meet, your mom and dad?
I don't know. My dad went to Purcell and my mom went to Madera, and they just must have met in Madera sometime,
Yeah.
Because my mom's mom was divorced, and she remarried when my mom was like a senior in high school.
Oh, okay.
Or just before that. And then she has a sister who's 19 years younger. She's only 2 years older than I am, 2.5 years older than I am.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but she just passed away, so.
Okay. 'Cause that makes sense. When she was in high school, her mom got married.
Yeah.
Had a kid.
So.
Dang. And so describe, what was your mom like and what was your dad like?
My dad, well, my mom, she was a people person. She loved people, and she loved people from all over the world. So she always gathered people. We had all kinds of exchange students. We had people from all over the world come to our house all the time. A lot of people from the Philippines. There were doctors and nurses that worked down at when Mercy was a hospital. And that's where Marty was born. And I even dated one of those doctors for a while, a Filipino doctor for a while. See, I'm...
This timeline can be very different.
I mean, and then there was a guy from Cuba. There were people from South America. There were people from, Asia and all over the world.
Why do you think she did that?
She just loved people. That's why I say now she would be in her glory now, being able to talk to people all over the world. She just loved people all over the world. We had a lot of seminarians come to our house, and they were Maryknoll seminarians, they were the priests who went all over the world, So we always had a lot of that.
That's really cool. And describe, Grandpa Keefe.
Well, he was just quiet and just dear. He was a really good person, He didn't say much, but when he said something, it meant something, And when I was very young, I was only like 4 years old. He went to the Pacific. And my mom had 3 of us. She had just had my brother, and my dad was in the Pacific. He was on the USS Apollo. It was a ship of some kind or other. Yeah. And she was at home with 3 kids. And they had no money. I can remember she and her friend, whose husband was also in the Navy. They would I think her friend used to steal chickens from a barnyard or something just so we could eat half the time. It was, it was hard during the Second World War.
How old were you at this point?
I was like 4 and 5 years old.
Okay. So these are like first memories, like pretty early, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can remember sitting at the dining room table, writing letters to my dad. And my brother at that time was very, very ill. He was just a baby. He was, only a year old, not even a year old.
Because what was your guys' spread again? You, Shirley?
It was me, Shirley, we're a year apart, and then there's like 3 years before Dick came, and then 3 more before Terry came, and then there was a little bit longer. Kevin was born when I was 16,
okay,
and then Kim came later.
She was the late one.
Yeah. I was 19 when she came.
Oh, gosh. So. She was the Lynn of the Keith.
Yes, she was, yeah. But then my mom had a sister who was 19 years younger than she was, too.
That's crazy. So your mom happened to your mom, and then happened to you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but my grandmother had married somebody else, so.
This is true. This is true. That makes sense.
We had a very happy childhood,
Yeah.
It wasn't like it is now, though. Mm-hmm. My parents weren't rich, my dad worked for he worked for a heating company, and then he decided to go out on his own and have his own heating company. And that was very lean times when they did that, because he had to get customers and things like that. So there was a lot of times that the money was very, very sparse.
That's kind of the entrepreneur. Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, and then finally, as he got older, things started to work out. And I was in high school when my brother Kevin was born. Mm-hmm. I was 16, and my mom was in bed for like 4 or 5 months.
What happened?
Well, they were afraid she was going to lose the baby, and she stayed in bed. And so that put a lot of the responsibility on me and my sister, to do the shopping, do the cooking, do all that kind of stuff when you're 16 years old. Mm. But, it meant a lot to her to have him, and mm-hmm. so it was nice, that she did that.
That's crazy. What was? Forgive me, I'm off. Grandma Keithy.
Yeah.
What was her vibe? Like, what was she like later in life? Like,
Well, she was very opinionated, and she said what she thought. She was extremely artistic. She was a very good artist. She used to make us fantastic Halloween costumes when we were little. I mean, we'd go out as cigarette packages and matches. I mean, we did everything, you know. And then even her friends, they would go out to these Halloween parties, and she'd make up different costumes for all of them, you know.
so she was pretty artsy. Like,
Oh yeah,
like,
very
was
artistic.
she like eclectic? Like, just like
She liked to paint, she liked to draw, she liked to do everything artistic. Like your mom. Your mom is that way too, you know.
you have a little bit of that though.
Well, I mean, in a different way. I mean, I sew and I do things like that, but I'm not artistic like your mom is. You know, I can't draw a picture. But Lynn is an artist too, you know, and we all of the kids have their artistic talents. The boys are all very talented, you know, in artistically. They can draw, they can build anything, you know.
Good point.
Yeah,
Never thought about it
so,
like that.
but
Yeah.
each of us has their own abilities, you know. So.
No, that's really. Did she do the Bears? Is that
Did she what?
do the Bears English muffins? Was that Keithy or Grandma Lyle?
Bears, English, I don't know.
Like the English muffins on Sundays. I think my mom told me that. That every Sunday she would like put butter and jelly on Bears English muffins.
Oh well, she would put butter on donuts. I mean, she put butter on everything. Yeah. We didn't have English muffins when I was a kid. There was, you know.
Maybe
there
it was
this-
later, much later.
Yeah, it might have been much later, but no,
Did she smoke too?
very much. She smoked till the day she died. She had oxygen, and she'd take it out and she'd smoke. She smoked menthol cigarettes because she thought that was better for her. But and the problem with her is she was afraid to live. She was terrified of going in small spaces. She was very claustrophobic. If you'd take her into a parking garage, she'd go berserk. You had to, and when they'd go to a hotel, she'd have to stay on the first floor.
So
She couldn't stand it. And in her last days, she spent in bed all the time. And she had to have the window open next to her bed. And she just had to have lights on. She just was, and it's a shame because it kept her from doing a lot of things that she could have enjoyed doing, you know.
Dang.
Yeah.
And I assume she couldn't fly, like she never flew or.
Well, she did. Yeah, she was terrified, but she flew. She finally did fly, you know, later. But I was terrified when we first flew too. That we weren't flying on jets back then. We were flying, you know,
Yeah, propeller.
DC-3. So we were not. Yeah, the first time I flew was when we moved to Syracuse. I was terrified.
Yeah.
But
We'll get to that. We'll get
Yeah.
to that. Okay, so take me back to high school. So you grew up.
Yeah.
childhood.
high school.
What were you like in high school?
Well, I was involved in a lot of things. I was a cheerleader and, you know, secretary of my class and all that kind of stuff. Very involved in everything. And I was very popular in high school, as was my sister. We had a lot of friends. And I think we got that from our mom, that we were just friendly to everybody, you know. It didn't matter. So, in turn, they liked us, you know. So.
Who was your, besides Shirley, who was your best friend in high school?
Oh, I had several girlfriends. There are 3 of them that I'm still really close friends with now. You know, we used for a couple of years, we went on like a Golden Girls trip. You know, we'd go someplace every year. But now, you know, we've got families, and one of my friends has got Alzheimer's, so she's in California. So, you know, we've moved to all different places around the country, so you lose contact. You don't see each other all the time. But when we're together, it's like we never left each other. We still have really close friends. I still see a lot of my high school friends since we moved back to Cincinnati.
Where'd you go to school?
Madeira.
Is that where Laura went?
No, Laura went. Our kids all went to Catholic high schools.
Where did Laura go?
She went to Ursuline.
Ursuline, okay. I told somebody she went to Madeira today.
No.
I was thinking of you, I think.
Yeah, no, we went to St. Gertrude's, and then instead of going to the parochial school, Shirley and I went to Madeira, and my brother went to Madeira. But then my sister Terry, she went to Regina, which was a Catholic high school. And then Kevin went to St. X, and he went to the Archbishop's Choir School.
Okay.
And then Kim went to Madeira.
Okay.
So,
That's funny. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Okay, so high school, crushing it, cheerleading,
yeah,
hanging out.
yeah.
I'm sure you had your struggles. Sounds like you had to.
Well, you
step
know
up
what?
as a
We
sister.
often talk about this, my friends and I. We grew up in a really good time. I'm sure there were things that went on that we weren't aware of because you didn't have all this stuff telling you all this stuff. But we all had a very good time to grow up. We didn't have all this mess that's going on right now. There were things going on in the 50s, but 40s and 50s. But we had polio, and things like that were scary. But in the Korean War, I think, was when I was in 8th grade. And we would write letters to the soldiers, and things like that. But we were just really involved more in family life. We had a thing in our neighborhood that we all loved to perform. We took piano lessons from one of the guys in the neighborhood. So we had this theater that we made up this one summer. And we had a variety show with everybody in the neighborhood. And the parents brought the pianos from their houses outside onto their driveway. And we had a whole thing where we set up chairs and everything, and then we would perform these acts. And of course, my sister and I sang all the time. And we played the piano, and other people did other things, and we raised all this money for cerebral palsy. And the people from cerebral palsy came out and, to our show, and it was really fun. We spent the whole summer rehearsing and doing all that, and it was really fun. We had a great time.
That's really cool.
Yeah, we really did it.
Did you play piano?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, some,
Yeah.
Then my piano teacher quit giving lessons, and so we didn't, but we sang, and we still did that until just recently, whenever we'd be together. Because my grandmother was a very good pianist, and she could play anything. She never took any lessons, and she could play anything. And she had a brother who was also a musician, and he used to write music for us. And Shirley and I would sing these songs, and my grandpa would sit there and listen to us, and then he'd sing the songs too. But some of the words to these songs nowadays would be complete no-nos, absolute. One of them was, "Won't you come over to my house?" And my sister and my grandpa loved to hear this song, and my uncle had written it. It was, "Won't you come over to my house? Won't you come over and play? I see you've got something about curls and sweet things, and I'll buy you this and that and all this kind of stuff if you'll only come over to my house and play." And I'm thinking, if anybody sang that now, they would put him in jail, So it was. We lived in an entirely different time. So.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Well, a little more explicit now, it sounds like.
Yeah, very much.
What were the other, what did you listen to in high school?
Everything. Of course, we had to wash the dishes every night. We didn't have dishwashers. We were it. So we'd sit and listen to the hit parade, and we'd sing along with the hit parade every night. So we were in all the variety shows and all that kind of stuff. It was a big thing. The music was a big thing to us. And when these seminarians would come over, they were all musical too, and they would bring their guitars and all that, and we'd sit out on the front porch in the summer, and we'd have these song fests, and we'd sing all kinds of harmony, and we'd sing everything, to classical to, and the neighbors loved it. But it was just always that. There was music all around our house all the time.
That's really cool.
It was really nice.
That is nice. That's fun. Okay, so take me to college, the nursing. What
Well, the first thing, when I was dating this guy who was the doctor at the hospital, he would let me come, and I'd go to the emergency room, and I'd sit there and watch him work in the emergency room.
Dang.
This was when I was out of high school then.
Okay.
And I thought, I want to be a nurse. Well, I had never been away from home, ever. And I went to Hamilton, to the nursing school in Hamilton. And I stayed for 6 months, but then we were on the floor, and I was so afraid somebody was going to die on me because they had me taking care of old people. And I didn't think I could handle somebody dying. It was just something I wasn't ready for.
Yeah.
So I came home, and I decided to go to teacher's college. So that's what I did. I went down to UC, and I was there for 3 years, I guess 2.5 years. And I met Grandpa, and we got married. So,
Take me back to the engagement. What
that was so funny. Because we were out with a bunch of girls a couple of months ago, and we were all talking about how we got engaged, and some of it was hysterical. I won't tell you all of it, how these engagements went. But ours, I mean, he picked me up to go, I guess we were going to a dance at UC. And we're driving in the car. We came up Euclid Road, and we're turning onto Kenwood Road. I mean, we're at the bend, we're turning the bend, and he hands me the ring in the middle of that. I mean, what are you going to do? It was just it wasn't very romantic, but then we went back to my house because he had already talked to my dad to show him. So it was just different, It was better than some of the ones that I heard about, though.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
Well, I said yes, of course. It's pretty obvious.
Were you like, what are you doing? What
that was like 64 years ago.
Oh
something
my gosh. That's so funny. And do you remember your wedding? Do you remember getting ready? What was going through your brain? Was your mom there helping you?
Oh, yeah, they were all there. And I remember back then, if you married Grandpa wasn't Catholic at the time.
That's what he said, yeah.
And so...
Presbyterian, I didn't know that.
Yeah, his family was Catholic, but, he was never raised Catholic. Uh-huh. And so, right before the wedding, they called me from the parish office and said, well, we can't marry you unless he signs all these papers that he's going to raise his kids Catholic. This is like a week before the wedding, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And so he finally went up and signed the papers, but thinking he'd never really do that one way or the other. He didn't have any kind of particular thing about it. But so then later on, then he turned Catholic, as a surprise to me. So that was nice. Yeah.
That is funny. Yeah. Look at him now. I like thought he was always Catholic.
No, he never. Well, his mother had been married once before, which he didn't. None of the kids knew, and all of a sudden, her ex-husband, she had been married to this guy when she was young. Her parents kind of arranged that they should marry, and it didn't work out. Mm-hmm. So she never had any children or anything. So Grandpa Ollinger was Catholic, but they didn't go to church or anything when they weren't married Catholic. Mm-hmm. And then later on, they read in the newspaper that he had died, and they went up to St. Gertrude's and got married in the Catholic Church. And our kids were already, preteen and stuff like that. They were young. And so they got married, and we had a little celebration. I don't know that they even remember that, because later on, Jeff and his cousin Steve were talking to Grandpa Ollinger one day in the kitchen, and he's talking about Grandma's first husband, and they're like, oh my God, we never knew she was married before. You learn all kinds of things, So.
No, totally. Do you remember, so you guys got married, do you remember your wedding day?
Yeah.
Can you describe it?
It was it was hot because it was at the end of August, but it was raining a little bit. But we got married at 5:30 in the afternoon, and we couldn't have a mass because he wasn't Catholic. So we had, but we had, the Catholic service. We could go to, that was when they had the things in front of the altar. You couldn't go up on the altar, so we had to stand in front of the altar. And then we had our reception right there at the school where I went to school, St. Gertrude's School, in the basement. And it was really nice. I mean, back then we didn't have these, well, I guess some people had elaborate receptions, but we didn't. It was fun though. It was nice, you know.
Did you guys have wine, like bottles of wine? Or?
No, we had.
Coca-Cola.
I'm trying to think. I think my folks had beer and wine, but see, wine wasn't a big thing back then.
Oh, okay.
You know, it was more Mogan David kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But they had beer and wine. But other people, if they wanted liquor, they brought their own.
Their own little
You know.
flask. Oh yeah, that's funny.
My folks weren't big drinkers back then. You know, so beer mostly. You know, so.
No, that's really cool. Did you cry on your wedding day?
Of course, doesn't everybody?
I don't know. Everyone's never got.
No.
Did he cry? Did Doug cry?
No, I don't remember that he did. You know, no. And then we went to Fort Lauderdale on our honeymoon, and I had never seen the ocean, so that was neat. And on our way, we're going through Smyrna, Florida, New Smyrna Beach, Florida. And he was at a stop sign, and he took off from the stop sign, and a cop stopped him, said he was speeding. So the cop takes us in. I mean, that time, well, he takes us to the jail, or to the courthouse, takes his cop hat off, and he's now the judge. And he's going to charge us. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's going to spend our first night of our marriage in the jail. He charges, I forget how much he charges, $25 or $30, which is a lot of money to us then. Thank God we had it, because I figured we were, you know, going to be spending the night at the jail that night, but we didn't. He let us go on by paying the fine. All those exciting things that you get.
So after you guys got married, were you working anywhere?
Yes, I was working for in Marymount, down in Marymount, and it was I don't know, they did things for P&G and stuff like that,
Okay.
you know, printing place is what it
So
was.
you didn't pursue the nursing thing?
Pardon me?
Did you finish with a nursing degree? Or did you?
Oh, no, I never did that, or the teaching degree, you know. But like I said, I got both of them in just being a mom.
Oh yeah, and more. I'm sure.
But yeah, I worked until I had Marty. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you remember? You remember? How did you find out you were pregnant?
Well, I just went to the doctor and found out. You know, I had never gone through anything like that. Of course, I didn't know what was going to happen, and I was tiny and he was huge. You know, he weighed 9.5 pounds.
Do you remember telling your mom?
Oh yeah,
Doug? What was the?
Oh, he was excited. We were both excited. You know, the thing is, we were married. And we'd go to these parties, and these different people would get pregnant, and I'd think, well, why am I not pregnant? I should be pregnant. I mean, it wasn't back where you planned it all out.
Yeah.
It just, you wanted to have a baby. That's why you got married. You wanted to have a baby. So it wasn't something that we planned out, you know. So
That's cool.
yeah.
That's
So
exciting.
and we were excited when he came, and it was like 26 hours I was in labor. And it was hard, and then you had to stay in the hospital for 7 days, you know. So
Dang.
it was that was a hard delivery. But after that, you know, they were all, you know, pretty easy. They came one right after another. So
Well, so you have Marty, right? And then the call, P&G makes the call.
yeah, that's
me
when
about
he
that.
that's when he went with P&G.
Were you freaking out when he was like, "We're going"?
Well,
to
I
yours?
had never been away from home ever, you know, and he had his interview and they offered him the job, and then right away they said, we're going to move you up to upstate New York. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I don't know, you know. But I mean, you're married. You go where, you know, back then you go where your husband goes, you know. And so it was exciting, but then you don't know anybody out there. But both of us made friends very easily. And like I showed you that book where we were, you know, and then we got up there, and Marty was born in November. And then in February, I found out I was pregnant with Laura, you know, and then she was born in October. So, I mean, it was like not even a year for those first few that, you know, they're the same age for a few weeks. So,
That's cool.
and then I don't have anybody with me up there. I don't have any family or anything like that. So you're on, in a way it was good because it made us independent, being away from home. Because after we finally did move back to Cincinnati, people that we had gone to school with and things like that, they were so still back in time where we had left. We had grown a lot in moving around and meeting new people and being in new places and being on our own. You didn't have people to help you out, if you needed somebody all the time. I didn't have my parents and things to babysit for me. Mm-hmm. And he was gone all the time. I mean, he traveled all the time. So, he was big into his job. He was very, he loved his job. So, so it worked out, Oh,
that's crazy.
It's fine.
What was it like having my mom? Do you remember the first girl?
Yes, it was exciting, and of course she was big. She weighed 10 pounds when she was born. But she was always fun to be around. She had the most beautiful smile, and she just, they weren't even a year apart, so they were fun to have, and to have the girl. And I didn't have another girl for a while. 7 years later, I had Lisa. So, and she thought because your mom was real into sports and stuff like that. She thought, oh boy, I've got somebody that's going to be great like me. Well, Lisa was more girly. She was into dolls and dress up and things like that. So, and then Lynn was more like she was more like a baby to her. I mean, she could have been her mother,
Yeah.
And now she is more like a mother to her, and I'm more like her grandmother. Well, it's nice because they have a good relationship, and she can be a mother to her, too. So that's nice.
No, that's funny.
She said the first time somebody asked her if she was your mother, she said, I knew it was going to come. But
I remember that they were at the party, and Lynn was like, yeah, that's what comes. No, that makes sense with my mom, though, that she had all those brothers, and she just was like...
Yeah, well, I told you, she was a fantastic baseball player. She really was. And golfer, and she competed with all of them.
If you had to describe each kid in like one sentence when they were younger, what would you say about each kid? You could take a second to think.
Marty was very serious. Very serious. Yeah, he was, and your mom was just, she was probably the easiest. She just was always really, never getting into trouble and everything, at least that I knew. And
maybe she was the one that said you would line everybody up and have like wooden spoon. Like
no.
Maybe she's making this up.
You know that, Chris. That's a lot of things they make up. Jeff was very adventurous. He was the one that would, he wanted to go out and try everything, so.
That's cool.
And Keith was. He was our problem child, but not until later. I think he just...
What was he like as a kiddo?
He was a sweet kid, but he just wasn't into the things as much as the other. Like, he wasn't as good an athlete. He wasn't, I think being the fourth one in 4 years, he was just... maybe we neglected him more than we should have. I don't know. You just, you don't know what happened.
Totally, yeah. Trying to keep up a little bit.
Yeah, he was always, he never was quite as adventurous as the other. Mm-hmm. Brian was the happy-go-lucky, fun, happy little guy. I mean, always smiling, always, he was something. And Lisa is still the same as she was just more into all the stuff. She was, very girly and had to watch her more than your mom. Yeah. And I know I didn't watch her enough. And Lynn was just, she was like a blessing for us because she came so late. Her friends' parents were your mom and dad, my Laura and Marty's age. She brought a friend to the house one day, and her mom came to pick her up, and she said, oh, I knew a Marty Ollinger when I was at St. Michael's. I said, yeah, that's my son. She was in his class. So, we had no real camaraderie with the parents because they were so much younger than we are. You know, you lose that when you've got that many years. Now, people are having kids at that age, but not many people were having kids. All my friends, their kids were grown by then, and they were ready to go, and we had Lynn, so.
Do you remember finding that out? Did you take a pregnancy test or go to your doctor?
Yeah, and then I came home, and my grandpa came in. I told him, and he was happy. You know, he thought it was wonderful, but it was a different, and it turned out to be the best pregnancy I ever had, because the kids were all into it. And their friends were all in it. They would come and even the boys at Muller the kids at Muller, they were all into it, and all of Laura's friends. So it was easy, you know.
You're kind of famous.
Yeah, it was. And she was like, this little doll they could all play with until it came time. And then I had to get babysitter. You didn't want to do that as much. But
do you remember your first grandkid? I think it was Brad, right?
Brad, yeah. He was, he was... I took care of him because, of course, Jeff and Tanya were young, very young. And so she had to work and he had to work. So since I had a 2-year-old, it wasn't anything for me to have him. So we took care of him a lot so that they could work. She could work. So he was around a lot.
I didn't realize they were 2 years apart. That's crazy.
Yeah, about 2.5 years apart. Yeah.
And then Chris came.
And then, he was later,
And then Jason.
I think, I think it's Jason's older than Brian or Ryan, isn't he?
Yeah. Do you remember?
They're close.
Do you remember Laura's, like your girl's first pregnancy?
Yeah, because we were in Canada. And so she called me, and I couldn't be there for her because I was in Canada. How did you do this 7 times? She says. And so she had to go it alone when I was in Canada. But then it was fun when we came back to see him. So
that's great.
Grandkids are great. Now, great grandkids.
What would you do to keep the kids occupied? That's a lot of kids to raise.
Well, they found their own. They played outside. They played outside a lot. We had a lot of neighbors with kids and things like that.
What was your favorite thing to do with them? Looking back, did you guys do things together, puzzles or?
Yeah, but they played out. I didn't have time much to sit down and play with them too much.
What were you doing? Cooking, cleaning?
Yeah, just the ironing alone as they got older was like, see, back then you ironed things, you did all that kind of stuff. So, and when they were little, I didn't have anybody around. One time, I was gonna entertain all the guys that worked for Doug. And he was in Buffalo, and I was in Syracuse, and it was Christmas time. And he had gotten this tree that was a 3-sided tree because he thought it would fit in the corner really well. Mm-hmm. And it was a real tree, so you had the water and all that kind of stuff. And Jeff is like 2 years old. And I have Keith, who's just a year old, all of them. And he's wandering through the living room. I have a carpet on the floor, and he pulled the Christmas tree over, and the water just soaks all the carpeting. So Doug is in Buffalo, and it's snowing in Buffalo like crazy, and I'm having like 20 people for dinner. So I had to take the Christmas tree out and go buy a new Christmas tree, bring it back, and put it up and decorate it and all that, and then cook the meal. And Dad calls me and says, well, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get there this snowstorm. I don't think I'm going to make it. I said, well, you better start flapping your arms because you better be here when they come because I don't know any of these people. So my neighbors helped me out by taking the kids so I could do this and that. And because I had 4 little babies under 3 years old. And I got a babysitter and put them upstairs. And then they all came like nothing happened. And then I was cooking some peas in the pressure cooker, and they blew up in the kitchen that night. We've had some very exciting dinner parties over the years. Yeah.
I feel like it continues. I think back to Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Things lit on fire, red wine.
Oh, I know. I really have. When we lived in Detroit, we had some guy from Kroger for dinner one night. It was winter time, and Doug, he didn't like the toilet. He wanted to put a new toilet in or a new seat or something on. Well, he couldn't get it off because the screws were rusty or something like that. So he takes a chisel and a hammer and starts doing that right through the side of the toilet. This is in the morning of this day we're having the dinner. And he says, oh, it's okay. The hole's way up here. The water's way down here. It's not going to make a difference. Well, he flushes the toilet, of course, and the water is everywhere. And he calls the plumber, and the plumber comes and he has to put a new toilet in and all that garbage. And then another night, we had the same couple come, and the pipes froze in the kitchen just as I'm about to have dinner, and they've got water spraying all over the kitchen. So, yeah, we've had some real fun things.
What a journey.
I got locked out of the house in the snow one time. I went out the back door, and the door locked, and the kids are inside. And Keith was only like a year old or 2 years old, and he's sitting there on the couch coloring or something, and I'm at the back door and saying, can you open the door? I mean, he doesn't know, and I finally showed him how to pull the latch, and he finally pulled the latch, and I'm out there in my bare feet in the freezing cold. So we've had all kinds of exciting things.
What was your favorite part of being a mom?
I don't know if I have. I mean, I love being a mom. You know, it's just there's no favorite part. You know, just all the hugs and things like that. Those are the nicest things.
Looking at your more extended family now, I know it's gotten very big.
Yeah, and especially now as I get older, every time I see people, I think, is this the last time I'm ever going to see them? And I just miss having them around, you know. But that's just the way life is, you know. It's the way it's supposed to be. So I'm sure all parents feel like that, you know.
Yeah.
Because you don't ever get to, and I've got so many now. I mean, there's 60 of us all together now in the family, and that's a lot, but you know, I wouldn't trade it for anything. You know, it's what I wanted, so that's it.
Yeah, back in the day, you're like, why can't I get pregnant?
Yeah.
Well, you got your wish.
Yeah, I did. I got it finally, over and over and over.
Quickly back to the faith thing. Do you feel like you saw God move in your life?
Oh, always. I wouldn't have been able to get through it without him. It's very important to me. My dad was like that too. He was very much like that. He inspired me to be that way. You know. I don't think I started every day with him, and I think that's what helps me get through every day.
That's cool.
So, and I certainly know, sing. There's nothing about that. I think it's just that you just, it's something that I need in my life, you know.
Is there any specific moments you can think of, maybe, or if not, that's okay too. But
well, when I was so sick, oh my gosh, they were just, I couldn't have gotten through that without some faith, you know. And I knew he took care of me because I really didn't think I was going to make it. But all different times, you know, even if a child is sick or if you're going, our life has not been all roses, believe me, as is anybody's, you know, and anybody who says it is not telling you the truth. But when you're having problems like that, you know, your kids are having problems, it's, I don't see how people get through it without some kind of faith. You know.
Very real.
Yeah. He's gotten us through a lot.
He's moving, yeah.
You know. And we have a big family, so there's a lot of things, you know. So there still are. But sometimes you just can't, there's nothing you can do but just put it in the hands of the Lord. And that's, you know, it's up to him to help. especially when you're so far away from things.
Yeah, out of control.
Yeah, you're out of control. So,
Looking back at life and stuff, like what do you feel like are big any big life lessons that like you would any advice you would give to somebody that's my age or Maddie's age or even
well, things have changed so much. You just have to look at what's important in your life. I think so many people think things are important that aren't important. And kids nowadays, at least a lot of the ones that I know, have so much. I mean, they just have so much. It can be taken away from you so quickly. And you just have to, I don't know, be good to everybody. There's good in everybody, and you just have to try to see that. You may not agree with people, but that doesn't mean you have to be angry or be nasty to them or anything like that. I just think you have to be nice to everybody. So even though, I mean, you're going to find people that are not going to be that way, but that's when you pray for them. I'm lucky. I have so many nice friends and nice family, and and I can't do anything about their problems. They can't do anything about mine. But everybody has that. It's just you just have to go along with the way life is. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. The good times get you through the bad times.
That's good. That's really good. All right, last question. We can wrap it up. But tell us about the red couch. Where did you guys get it? What's the?
Well, I mean, it was just we had that big house, and we got this, and the kids loved it because all the little ones could sleep on it, and even the big ones could sleep on it. I never had it recovered. It was cost a small fortune to have the thing recovered. I even said to your mom one day, maybe I'll try to recover this, She said, "You got to be out of your mind. There's no way you want to do that." And then all the kids, when they come, that's all they want to do is be on this red couch. Andrew came and helped put it in here for us. And he said, "Oh, this would be great in my dorm." He said, my friends would have a ball on this. I thought, oh, yeah, great. That's what I need, is a whole dorm full of college boys on my couch. So it's very comfortable, and it makes a great bed. Lynn said, "Don't you ever get rid of that couch. It's kind of infamous in our family, so I guess I'll keep it. They can decide what to do with it when I'm gone." I don't know what they'll do with it.
I don't know either. I think they're going to fight for it.
I don't know. It needs a few repairs, I guess. I still have some buttons. I could put some more buttons in it or take them all out. I don't know.
No, that's great. No, this is good. You did a great job. That was great.
Thank you.
I think we're good. You good? Yeah. Anything else?